Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive into history. Today we're tackling the Deccan Dynasties. It's a fascinating period, especially if you're prepping for that UPSC exam.
Yeah.
Or just, fascinated by India's past in general. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future deep dives. Click that bell icon too for notifications. All right, let's dive in.
It's really incredible how these dynasties kind of rose to power.
Yeah.
Often they started as feudatories,
Right.
just these, loyal subordinates granted land in exchange for military support.
Yeah.
But ambition, as we'll see that, often led them to break free and forge their own empires.
Like a real-life Game of Thrones. Feudatories becoming kings, empires clashing. I'm hooked already. So which dynasty are we starting with?
Well, let's begin with the Western Chalukyas. They ruled from the late 10th to the late 12th century.
Okay.
And their story is a classic example of that feudatory to empire rise.
Yeah.
They were initially under the Rashtrakutas, but Tailapa II, their founder, he had bigger plans.
Tailapa II. That name rings a bell from the UPSC syllabus. What made him so significant?
Well, he not only defeated the Rashtrakutas, establishing, Chalukya independence, but he also really understood the importance of strategic alliances. He very cleverly forged connections with the Paramars and the Cholas, creating a power block that really helped him solidify his position.
So it wasn't just brute force.
No.
He was a smart strategist too.
Exactly. And his successors, they really followed suit. Take Samshwara, for example.
Okay.
He realized that the Chalukya capital Manyaketa, it was pretty vulnerable to attacks from the Cholas, so he made the bold decision to move the capital to Kalyani, a more strategically sound location.
Wow, shifting an entire capital city, that must have been a monumental task.
Well, absolutely.
But I guess it shows how seriously they took defense and strategic planning.
Absolutely. And this strategic thinking paid off. It allowed them to really hold their own against the powerful Chola Empire, which was a major force in South India at the time.
Speaking of the Cholas, our sources mentioned a series of epic battles between them and the Chalukyas. Any particular conflict that stands out?
Well, the Battle of Koppam in 1054 AD was a real turning point.
Okay.
The Chalukya king Samashwara, I went head-to-head with the Chola king, Rajendra Chola I. It was a fierce battle. But Samshwara, I managed to hold his ground,
Wow.
preventing the Cholas from making further inroads into Chalukya territory.
So a crucial victory that helped maintain the Chalukya's power. But all this talk of battles and strategy makes me wonder, what was life like for ordinary people during this time? Did they even notice these power struggles?
Oh, absolutely. The Chalukyas were known for their efficient administration and their focus on agriculture. They had a system of local governance that empowered village communities and ensured a steady flow of revenue to the royal treasury.
So it wasn't all about kings and conquest. They actually cared about the well-being of their people. That's something I hadn't really considered.
And remember those Govundas we mentioned earlier? Well, they played a crucial role in Chalukya society. They were powerful local chiefs who collected taxes, maintained law and order, and even acted as intermediaries between the villages and the royal court.
Wow.
Interestingly, this system of local administration, with figures like the Govundas, it would later be adopted and refined by the Vijayanagara Empire, another important dynasty. You'll be studying that for the UPSC exam.
Oh, cool. So the Chalukyas laid the groundwork for administrative structures that would influence empires for centuries to come. That's a great point for those prepping for the UPSC. But let's shift gears a bit. What about the cultural side of things? I've heard whispers of magnificent temples and a unique architectural style.
Ah, yes. The Chalukyas, they were great patrons of art and architecture. They developed a distinct style known as the Gadag style.
Okay.
A beautiful blend of the North Indian Nagara and South Indian Dravidian architectural traditions.
Wow.
Imagine ornate temples with intricate carvings, towering spires, and stepped wells that were not just functional, but works of art in themselves.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who aren't architecture experts, can you break down those styles a bit? What are the key differences between Nagara and Dravidian?
Sure. Nagara architecture, typically found in North India.
Right.
It's characterized by its curved towers and elaborate doorways, often featuring images of deities and mythical creatures. Dravidian architecture, more common in South India, that's known for its pyramid-shaped towers, massive gateways called gopurams, and intricate carvings that cover every inch of the temple. The Chalukyas being in the Deccan,
Right.
a region where these two styles converge. created a unique fusion that blended the best of both worlds.
So they created a hybrid style, taking inspiration from both North and South. That's fascinating. Do we have any specific examples of these Chalukya temple? I'm picturing these amazing structures, but I need some visuals.
Oh, there are plenty. One striking example is the Mahadeva Temple at Atagi. It's considered a masterpiece of the Gadag style. Picture this, a temple adorned with intricate sculptures depicting scenes from Hindu epics.
Wow.
Its walls intricately carved with floral motifs and geometric patterns, and it's all made from soapstone, which gives it a soft, almost luminous quality.
Soapstone. That's interesting. Why did they choose that material?
Well, it was readily available in the region, and it's a relatively soft stone, which allowed the Chalukyan sculptors to create these incredibly detailed and delicate carvings.
Interesting.
It almost looks like lacework in stone.
It's amazing how they turned a simple material into something so exquisite. Okay, I'm adding the Mahadeva temple to my travel list. Any other must-see Chalukya temples?
Well, if you're fascinated by unique architectural designs, you have to see the Dadabasappa Temple. It's known for its unusual 24-pointed star-shaped floor plan. You won't find anything quite like it anywhere else.
A star-shaped temple. That's definitely going on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. The Chalukyas were not only powerful rulers, but also patrons of the arts, blending architectural styles and pushing the boundaries of creativity.
Precisely. And their legacy extends beyond temples and stone carvings. They also fostered a rich literary tradition.
Oh, tell me more. What kind of literature flourished under their rule?
Kannada literature truly blossomed during this period. We have works like the Vikramankadavacharita, a Sanskrit poem by the Kashmiri poet Bilhana, which praises the Chalukya king Vikramaditya VI. It gives us a glimpse into the life and achievements of this remarkable ruler.
So it's like a window into the past.
Yes.
Revealing not just the king's deeds,
Yeah.
but also the cultural values of the time. That's so valuable, especially for understanding the nuances of history.
Exactly. And we can't forget Rana, a prominent Kannada poet who served in the Chalukya court. He composed the Gata Yuddha, a classic epic that tells the tale of a legendary battle between the Chalukyas and the Rashtrakutas. These works weren't just entertainment. They were powerful tools for shaping identity, spreading values, and even legitimizing rulers.
It's like they were writing their own history, embedding their legacy in words that would endure for centuries.
Precisely. And speaking of enduring legacies, let's move on to another fascinating dynasty, the Kakatiyas, rulers of the Telugu-speaking regions. They had a slightly shorter reign than the Chalukyas, but left behind an equally impressive mark on the Deccan.
Okay, bring on the Kakatiyas. I'm ready to see what they brought to the table.
Well, for one, they were master builders, renowned for their innovative techniques and stunning temples. And they also gave us one of the earliest and most powerful female rulers in Indian history.
Oh, wow.
Rudrama Deviya.
A female ruler. Now that's a story I want to hear. But before we delve into Rudrama Devi's reign, let's set the stage. Where did the Kakatiyas rule? And how did they come to power?
They rose to prominence in the 12th century, establishing their kingdom in the region we now know as Telangana and parts of Andhra Pradesh. Like the Chalukyas, they initially started as feudatories, serving under another dynasty.
Let me guess, the Rashtrakutas. They seem to have been the overlords of the Deccan.
Good guess. But not this time.
Oh.
The Kakatiyas were initially under the Western Chalukyas, those very rulers we just discussed.
Oh, wow.
But as we'll see, their story also follows that familiar pattern of ambition, rebellion, and ultimately the creation of a powerful independent kingdom.
History repeating itself. Okay, I'm ready to dive into the Kakatiya saga. What were their key achievements? What made them stand out from the crowd?
Well, besides their impressive architectural feats, they were known for their efficient administration, their focus on public works like irrigation and water management,
Right.
and their patronage of Telugu literature.
Okay, hold on. That's a lot to unpack. Let's break it down. Tell me more about these impressive architectural feats. What kind of structures did they build?
Get ready to be amazed, because the Kakatiyas took temple architecture to a whole new level, developing unique techniques and creating structures that still stand tall today, centuries later. And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our Deccan Dynasty deep dive.
You definitely piqued my curiosity. I can't wait to learn more about these Kakatiya marvels and that intriguing female ruler, Rudrama Devi. We'll be back soon to continue our exploration of the Deccan dynasties.
Remember how we were talking about the Kakatiyas being incredible builders? Well, one of their most notable achievements was the development of a unique construction technique using sand.
Sand. Really, that sounds a bit unstable.
It might sound counterintuitive, but they were incredibly skilled at it. They called it the sandbox technique, and it involved creating a foundation of sand and then layering it with stone. This technique allowed for flexibility and stability, especially in earthquake-prone regions.
So instead of rigid foundations, they created a base that could absorb shocks. That's brilliant. It's like ancient earthquake proofing.
Exactly. And this ingenuity is evident in one of their most iconic temples, the Ramappa Temple, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Dedicated to Lord Shiva, this temple is a marvel of granite and basalt construction. The sandbox technique played a crucial role in ensuring its survival for centuries, even in a region prone to seismic activity.
Wow. So they were not only master architects, but also innovative engineers. It makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden within those ancient walls. But okay, enough about sand. What else made Kakatiya architecture so special? What sets it apart from, say, the Chalukya style we discussed earlier?
Well, while the Chalukyas were known for their intricate carvings and the fusion of Nagara and Dravidian styles, the Kakatiyas developed a unique aesthetic of their own. Their temples often featured towering gateways called gopurams adorned with elaborate sculptures. They also incorporated stepped wells or pushkarnas into their temple complexes, not just as sources of water, but also as beautiful architectural elements.
So they were thinking about functionality and aesthetics, blending practicality with artistry.
Absolutely, and one of the defining features of Kakatiya architecture is the use of black basalt. This dark, dense stone allowed for incredibly detailed carvings, giving their temples a distinctive look and feel.
Black basalt. That must create such a dramatic visual contrast against the surrounding landscape. Do we have any specific examples of temples that showcase these signature Kakatiya elements? Besides the Ramappa temple, which sounds incredible, by the way.
Of course. If you want to experience the grandeur of Kakatiya architecture firsthand, you must visit the Thousand Pillar Temple, or Rudrashwara Swami Temple in Hanumakanda. As the name suggests, it boasts 1,000 pillars, each intricately carved with unique designs.
1,000 pillars. It's mind-boggling.
It's truly a sight to behold.
Yeah.
The temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, and Surya, the sun god, and it's a testament to the Kakatiya's devotion and artistic vision. The sheer scale of the structure, the intricate carvings, and the use of black basalt create an awe-inspiring experience.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Each dynasty we explore seems to have left behind these architectural wonders that reflect not just their religious beliefs, but also their artistic mastery and their vision for their kingdoms.
It's true. These temples weren't just places of worship, they were symbols of power expressions, of cultural identity, and centers of community life.
Okay, before we move on to the next dynasty, we have to talk about Rudramadevi, a female ruler in 13th century India. That's extraordinary. What can you tell us about her?
Rudramadevi was a trailblazer, a queen who defied conventions and ruled the Kakatiya kingdom with wisdom and strength. She faced numerous challenges, including rebellions from within her own court and threats from neighboring kingdoms, but she navigated them with skill and determination.
It sounds like she had to prove herself constantly in a world dominated by men. How did she manage to gain the respect and loyalty of her subjects?
Her courage and military prowess played a significant role. She was a skilled warrior, personally leading her armies into battle and earning the admiration of her soldiers. She also proved to be a shrewd administrator, implementing policies that promoted economic growth and stability.
So she wasn't just a figurehead. She was an active and effective ruler who left a lasting impact on the Kakatiya kingdom.
Absolutely. Her reign is considered a golden age for the Kakatiyas, marked by prosperity, stability, and cultural achievements. Even Marco Polo, the famous Venetian traveler, visited India during her reign and was impressed by her leadership and the flourishing state of her kingdom.
Wow, a queen who impressed Marco Polo. That's a testament to her stature on the world stage. But sadly, even the most powerful rulers eventually faced decline. What led to the fall of the Kakatiya dynasty?
The Kakatiyas, like many other Deccan dynasties, faced the rising power of the Delhi Sultanate. Alauji, the Sultan of Delhi, set his sights on the Deccan, and his armies clashed with the Kakatiya forces.
So it was the arrival of a new power, a force from the north, that ultimately brought about their downfall.
Exactly. Rudramadevi's grandson, Prataparudra II, fought valiantly to defend the kingdom, but the Kakatiyas were eventually defeated, marking the end of their reign. Their legacy, however, lives on in their magnificent temples, their contributions to Telugu culture, and the inspiring story of their queen, Rudramadevi.
It's incredible how each dynasty we explore adds another layer to the rich tapestry of Indian history. They each faced their own challenges, achieved greatness in their own way, and ultimately faded into the annals of time, leaving behind a legacy for us to discover and admire.
And as we move on to the next dynasty on our list, the Yadavas, we'll see how this pattern continues with new rulers, emerging kingdoms rising and falling, and the cultural landscape of the Deccan constantly evolving.
Okay, I'm ready to delve into the Yadava story. What sets them apart from the dynasties we've already explored? What unique contributions did they make to the Deccan?
Well, the Yadavas, also known as the Sunna dynasty, were known for their military prowess, their patronage of the arts, and their significant role in the development of the Marathi language.
Marathi. Now that's an interesting twist. Up until now, we've been focusing on Canada and Telugu culture.
That's right. The Yadavas ruled from their capital at Devagiri in present-day Maharashtra, and they played a crucial role in promoting Marathi as a language of administration and literature.
So they were champions of their own language and culture.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. But let's start at the beginning. How did the Yadavas rise to power? Where do they fit into the larger timeline of Deccan dynasties?
Their story follows a familiar pattern. They emerged in the late 12th century initially as feudatories of...
Hold on, don't tell me.
Uh,
The Western Chalukyas. Am I right?
you are. It seems like everyone in the Deccan had to answer to the Chalukyas at some point. But the Yadavas, like the Kakatiyas before them, eventually declared independence and established their own kingdom.
History repeating itself once again.
Okay, so they broke free from the Chalukyas, established their capital at Devagiri, and championed the Marathi language. What else should we know about them? What were some of their defining achievements? Well, their reign is marked by a series of military campaigns, alliances, and conflicts with neighboring kingdoms. They were a force to be reckoned with, expanding their territories and consolidating their power.
Ah, so they were the warriors of the Deccan.
You could say that. They engaged in battles with the Hoysalas, the Kakatiyas, and even the Pandyas down south. They were constantly vying for control, forging alliances, and breaking them as needed to secure their position.
Sounds like a real-life chess game with kings and queens maneuvering their armies across the Deccan.
A very apt analogy, and one ruler who stands out during this period is Simhana II. He was a powerful king who expanded the Yadava kingdom, significantly pushing its boundaries southwards and engaging in fierce conflicts with his rivals.
So he was the conqueror, the empire builder.
Exactly. But he wasn't just a warrior king. Like many of the rulers we've discussed, he was also a patron of the arts and sciences. He supported scholars, poets, and musicians, contributing to the flourishing of Marathi literature and culture.
Okay, so we've got the military mastermind, the cultural patron. Is there a particular architectural marvel associated with the Yadavas?
While they might not be as renowned for their architectural achievements as, say, the Hoysalas, they did leave behind some impressive structures. One notable example is the Gondeshwar Temple at Sennar, built in the Bhumija style. This temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva and features a Panchayatana plan with 4 subsidiary shrines surrounding the main shrine.
Panchayatana, another new term. Can you break that down for us?
Of course. Panchayatana in temple architecture refers to a layout where the main shrine is surrounded by 4 smaller shrines dedicated to different deities. It's a symbolic representation of the 5 primary Hindu deities: Shiva, Vishnu, Devi, Surya, and Ganesha.
Ah, so it's a way of honoring multiple deities within a single temple complex.
That's fascinating. Okay, I'm definitely adding the Ganeshwar Temple to my ever-growing list of must-see places in the Deccan. But before we wrap up the Yadavas, tell me more about their contributions to Marathi literature. You mentioned that they played a crucial role in promoting the language. They did. They made Marathi the official language of their court, and this had a significant impact on its development. We see a flourishing of Marathi literature during this period, with works like Viveka Sindhu by Mukunduraya, a philosophical treatise that explored the nature of reality and the path to liberation. Then we have Hemadri, a scholar and minister in the Yadava court, who wrote Chaturvarga Chintamani, a comprehensive work on law administration and social customs.
So they weren't just writing poetry and stories. They were documenting their laws, their customs, their very way of life in the Marathi language.
Exactly. And this had a lasting impact. These works helped standardize Marathi grammar and vocabulary, laying the foundation for its development into a major literary language in the centuries to come.
It's amazing how these dynasties not only shaped the political landscape, but also left their mark on language, culture, and even the very way people express themselves.
It's a testament to the interconnectedness of history, how political power, cultural patronage, and linguistic evolution are all intertwined.
Okay, I'm ready for the grand finale. You've been teasing their architectural achievements throughout this entire deep dive. Let's talk about the Hoysalas.
Get ready to be transported to a world of intricate carvings, star-shaped temples, and sculptures so lifelike they seem to breathe. The Hoysalas were masters of their craft, creating some of the most awe-inspiring temples in all of India.
Okay, you've officially built up the suspense. Tell me everything. What made Hoysala architecture so unique? What sets it apart from all the other styles we've discussed?
Well, for starters, they were masters of soapstone construction. They took this relatively soft stone and transformed it into intricate masterpieces, carving entire epics onto temple walls, creating sculptures that seemed to defy gravity and pushing the boundaries of what was possible with this humble material.
Soapstone again? We saw it with the Chalukyas, but it sounds like the Hoysalas took it to a whole new level.
They did. Their temples are like giant, intricately carved sculptures with every inch covered in detail. And they weren't just focused on ornamentation, they experimented with architectural forms, creating star-shaped temples, elaborately designed stepped wells, and towering gateways that drew pilgrims and visitors from far and wide.
Star-shaped temples. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. I'm picturing these incredible, almost celestial structures rising from the landscape.
You're not far off. The Hoysalas were known for their innovative architectural designs, and their temples are a testament to their creativity and engineering skills.
This is all so fascinating, but I'm getting a bit lost in the details. Can we step back for a moment and talk about the Hoysala dynasty itself? Where did they rule? When did they come to power? Where do they fit into the grand scheme of Deccan dynasties?
They ruled from the 11th to the 14th century, primarily in the region we now know as Karnataka. Like many of their predecessors, they started as feudatories.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Let me guess the Western Chalukyas.
You're on a roll. It seems like no one could escape the Chalukya influence. But the Hoysalas, like the other dynasties we've discussed, eventually declared independence and established their own kingdom.
Ah, the age-old story of ambition and rebellion. So they broke free from the Chalukyas, established their own kingdom in Karnataka, and became renowned for their extraordinary soapstone temples. What else should we know about them? Who were some of their key rulers?
Well, one ruler who stands out is Vishnuvardhana. He was a powerful king who expanded the Hoysala kingdom, significantly conquering territories from neighboring kingdoms and consolidating his power.
Another conqueror. It seems like military prowess was a prerequisite for any successful Deccan ruler.
It certainly helped. But Vishnuvardhana wasn't just a warrior king. He was also a patron of the arts, a devout Hindu, and a builder of magnificent temples. In fact, he's credited with commissioning some of the earliest and most impressive Hoysala temples.
So he was a multifaceted ruler, a warrior, a patron, a devout man of faith, and a temple builder. It's amazing how these rulers managed to balance all these roles and responsibilities.
It's a testament to their leadership skills and their vision for their kingdoms.
Okay, before we dive into the specifics of Hoysala architecture, I'm curious about one thing. We've seen how each dynasty we've discussed contributed to the development of a specific language, Kannada, Telugu, and Marathi. What about the Hoysalas? Did they have a particular language that they championed?
They did. The Hoysalas were patrons of Kannada literature, and their reign saw a flourishing of literary works in this language.
So they continued the tradition of fostering language and culture alongside their political and military achievements.
Exactly. They understood that a strong kingdom needed a strong cultural foundation.
Okay, I'm ready to be dazzled. Let's talk about those Hoysala temples. Give me all the details. What made them so special? What architectural innovations did they introduce?
Get ready for a visual feast. Hoysala temples are known for their intricate carvings, their star-shaped designs, and their innovative use of soapstone.
Star-shaped designs. You mentioned that before, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. How did they create these unique shapes? What was the purpose behind them?
Well, the Hoysalas were master geometricians, and they incorporated complex geometric patterns into their temple designs. The star shape or stellate plan was a way of creating a visually stunning and symbolically significant structure. It allowed for multiple shrines and chambers to be interconnected, creating a sense of movement and fluidity within the temple complex.
So it wasn't just about aesthetics. It was about creating a specific spiritual experience for the devotees.
Precisely. And the star shape also allowed for more natural light to enter the temple, illuminating the intricate carvings and creating a sense of ethereal beauty.
Okay, I'm officially adding visit a star-shaped Hoysala temple to my bucket list. But before we get carried away by the architectural marvels, can we talk about the people who actually built these temples? Who are the artisans, the craftsmen, the visionaries behind these incredible structures?
The Hoysalas were fortunate to have a pool of incredibly skilled artisans and sculptors who were masters of their craft. These artists, often working anonymously, poured their hearts and souls into creating these temples, carving intricate details into every surface, bringing myths and legends to life in stone.
It's amazing to think about the dedication and artistry that went into creating these structures. They weren't just builders, they were storytellers, historians, and spiritual guides all rolled into one.
Absolutely. And their legacy lives on in the temples they left behind, a testament to the power of human creativity and the enduring spirit of artistic expression.
So we're talking intricate carvings, star-shaped temples, sculptures that look like they could come to life. Where do we even start with this Hoysala architecture?
Imagine temples like giant sculptures, every inch covered in detail. And it wasn't just decoration. They experimented. Star-shaped temples, stepped wells, towering gateways. Pilgrims came from all over.
Okay, gotta ask about the soapstone again. Seems fragile for temples that have lasted so long.
Right, it is soft, which is how they got such detail. But the Hoysalas, they were smart about it. They picked spots with good bedrock, and their building techniques, like those star shapes, helped distribute the weight too.
So art meets engineering. Pretty cool. If someone wanted to see this for themselves, where should they start?
Chanakesava Temple in Belur is a good one. Classic Hoysala style, star-shaped, intricate, got that towering gateway, dedicated to Vishnu. Every bit of it tells a story. Hindu myths, epics, daily life, it's all there.
Like a history book you can walk through. What about those huge temples, the ones that took like a century to build?
You mean the Hoysalara temple at Halebidu? Twin temple for Shiva, just massive and so detailed. Shows how dedicated the Hoysala rulers were, but it's actually not finished.
What, ran out of soapstone?
Nope. Invaders from the north attacked in the 1300s, wrecked part of it. Even the grandest things. You know, history can be tough.
Yeah, that's true. So we got Chanakesava telling stories, Hoysalswara with a sheer size. Any other Hoysala must-sees?
If someone wants something peaceful, I'd say Kasaba Temple in Somanathapura. For Krishna, it's known for being harmonious, tranquil setting. Shows how they blended temples into nature. Good for reflection.
Each one's unique, huh? Stepping back, though, who were the big names in this dynasty?
Vishnuvardhana's a big one. Expanded the kingdom a lot, had some of those early temples built. Interesting thing, he started as Jain, but converted to Hinduism. Ramanujacharya, the philosopher, influenced him.
A king who changes faith, that's always interesting. Did that affect the art at all?
For sure. A lot of Hoysala temples, like Chanakesava, have Vishnu and his avatars front and center, reflects that change.
Beliefs shaping art, huh? We talked about Kannada literature before. Anything notable from the Hoysalas?
Oh yeah, they were big supporters. Yashodharakare by Jana, a Jain poet. Jagannatha Vijaya by Rudrapata, he was Brahmin. And Harihara, a Shaiva poet, wrote Girja Kalyana. Lots of different styles, shows how diverse their court was.
They weren't just building, they were promoting all kinds of talent. But like we've seen, empires don't last forever. What happened to the Hoysalas?
It was a bunch of things, kind of like the Kakatiyas. Vijayanagara Empire was getting stronger down south, putting pressure on them. Plus, internal fights, weakening them, and yeah, those northern invasions didn't help.
Internal, external, it's a common way for things to crumble.
It is, unfortunately. But even though the Hoysala Empire is gone, their architecture, still amazing, shows their vision, their skill, how creative people can be.
Wow, we've covered a lot. Empires rising and falling, how architecture changed, the whole culture of South India. Fascinating stuff.
It really is. And it shows history is not just dates, it's about what creates civilizations, the people who change things, that legacy of creativity, all of it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. If our listeners are feeling overwhelmed, though, what are the big takeaways?
Big picture stuff. When these dynasties happened, what they did, how they affected art, buildings, literature. Don't get lost in the details. See how it all fits together, the patterns, what keeps happening.
Yeah, find those threads. You understand history better that way.
And remember, history is not just the past. It helps us understand now and make the future better. Learning from those who came before, their good moves and bad moves, that's valuable.
Couldn't agree more. All right, everyone, that's our Deccan Dynasty deep dive. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep exploring, asking questions, and reading those history books.
Keep on deep diving.